I'm going to be restoring the tail lamps on my W126 today. This part right here is a rubber seal, and it has a tendency to dry out and crack and leak. I checked the EPC and I got the part number right there, but I did check with two vendors that specialize in German parts, and it's either not available or no longer available. So I just want to see what mine looks like and condition it the best I can. This is a diagram of the tail lamp assembly. This is an inner plastic part. This holds the bulbs. And then there's two connectors. That's for the tail lamps. That's for the license plate. It's held on with six 8mm nuts right there. And they'll take out the entire assembly. If you have to replace just the rubber seal, then you have to remove the housing from the lens, and there's six more screws there. But I'm going to pull this unit out and take a look at it now. Okay, this is the inside of the trunk. This is the left rear tail lamp. There's two latches. You just turn them to the on position and this whole thing drops down. It's probably a good time to inspect this for corrosion, and you can clean that with electronics parts cleaner and put in some dielectric grease. I'm just going to remove this one. This connector's for the license lamp. The rest of that, oh hell, I'll just unplug everything. There we go, and I can get that out of the way. There's six number 8 nuts. There's 1, 2, 3 on top and 1, 2, 3 on the bottom. They're 8mm and they're not very tight. Okay, I got 5 of them off, but this last one's spinning. Okay, this nut down here is damaged. It's not connected to the housing. If I put a wrench on the nut, the whole stem's moving with it, so the back of that's just not connected. Okay, you just cross thread it and the nut's just jammed down there. It's not coming off, so I'm going to use a Dremel tool with a cutoff wheel and cut the bolt off. I think it came loose. Yep. Okay, there's the bolt. I got it out. You can see the material, the black plastic, and this all got rounded out from the housing. So I'm going to have to take the housing off, and these bolts, 6mm was too big, a 5 was too small. Luckily I have a 5.5mm nut driver that fits, but you know, leave it up to Mercedes to come up with odd fastener sizes. Okay, there were 6 of these little screws, and I can see they're going right into the lens. I'm just going to take like a drift and push it, some pressure on there, and see if I can get the lens to pop. Got a punch. It'll clear the housing. I can see the lens right there. So I'm just going to apply pressure with this while I lift that up. Okay, that one moved. There we go. I think it's about ready to come out. Yep, there we go. Oh, that's really easy. There's the housing. Here's the lens. Yeah, these are threaded. You can see where the screw goes down in there. Okay, that's the part that broke out. It's supposed to look like that, but it, you know, busted up the plastic too. Well, this thing's really filthy. I'm just going to wash this out with soap and water. Well, now that I got it washed up, I can see that my rubber seal is in excellent condition. It's very pliable. There's no cracks at all. The inner seal, though, the thin one, was letting loose here. I'll have to take some trim adhesive and put that back in place, but it's got cracks in it and it's in bad shape. That's the part right there, but it's also not available, so I'm just going to have to do the best I can with that. I've got an 8mm bolt nut and washer on this side, and on this side I took a washer and ground it down like an egg shape so it catches the edges, and that's very tight. That's not going anywhere. I'm just going to use some of this 3M trim adhesive and put that back into place. I mean, I don't like those little cracks in there, but I can't get the part, so if there's evidence of this leaking in the future, I'd probably just take some Permatex and, you know, apply it to that. Got the rubber seal glued on, and now I'm going to be taking some 303 protectant and spraying all over the rubber and the plastic too. It doesn't hurt. I usually let this stuff sit on here for a good 15-20 minutes, and then I just wipe off the excess. I got the inside of the lens clean, and the 303 soaked into this rubber really nice. It's soft, so I don't see any problems with that at all. Got the reflectors cleaned up on the inside, and now I'm just going to attach the housing to the lens. Just snaps right in, and these are these little 5.5mm screws. I'm not going to make these tight at all. I mean, it's threading into plastic, so you have to be careful with that. I'm just going like in a star pattern with these 6 screws and hardly torquing them down at all, just so that they're like tight. They weren't that tight to begin with, so alright, well, now that I got these things fixed, I can get going on the rest of the assembly. I got it clean, it looks good, but there's spots that you know, rubbed something on there, or he backed into something. That one's really bad. I might have to water sand that one out. But these other ones I'm going to try rubbing out with compound. Okay, that's the compound I used, and it didn't work. So I'm just lightly sanding it with 600. I already got one out. It looks like house paint, like latex. I think it'll come off pretty good. This down here though, this looks pretty, those are deep, but I'm going to try. I mean, if I scratch it up, I can always just put some clear over it and it'll look better than that. Okay, yeah, that little one just popped out. This one down here, it's got a number 11. It's not even that sharp. Just using it as a scraper. Some of this feels like it's on top. I'm going to try some 600. That's looking good. Okay, I'm going to go down to 800, then 1,000, 15, 2,000, and that should look good. Okay, that's after 800. Now I got 1,000. Okay, that's after 2,500, and it looks good. I got these two up here. This one had a pretty big mark on it. I'm going to try this mild rubbing compound first. That's just not cutting it down. Scratches are still there. I'm going to go with this heavy duty and just kind of do it lightly. Okay, well, that looks good. These up here turned out nice too. I'm going to put the mild compound on next. Well, that looks good. These up here turned out really nice too. And I notice this black is looking better. I might just rub that out with compound. I mean, it's starting to look kind of gray and nasty down there. Okay, I noticed how bad the clear lens looks on the flutes. That one's really opaque. The one underneath it, I just done. I water sanded it 2500, then buffed it out with the rough and the fine. And it's hard to tell. You can see almost right through it, and these you can't. So I'm going to use the electric drill with the pad on for these. They're all the same height. I'm going to do this black bezel too with 2500. And that thing's looking kind of scuzzy. And I'll buff this out with the coarse as well. Okay, I'm using Meguiar's cleaner wax, and it's hazed over, so it's ready to be polished off. I have a microfiber towel, and I'm just going to buff it out and see what it looks like. A toothbrush, and before this goes back on the car, or before it really dries up, I want to get in there and get all the wax out of the cracks. Otherwise you'll have white lines. I mean, this thing turned out really nice. It was all scratched up there with all that house paint, and it was dull. Especially the clear parts weren't even clear. And I think this shines nice. Even the metal up on top, that black trim looks good. Looks good down there. So, well, I'll install this one and do the next one. For corrosion protection, I'm just applying a thick coat of paste wax. After you clean the track, you just put it in pretty thick, and you just let it sit. You don't wipe it off. Now I can install the tail lamp assembly. It's just the reverse of removing it, so I'm not going to bother filming this part. Got it out in the sun so I can see the colors, and they do look bright, pretty much like it did when it left the factory, especially the clear. I can see right through there. That looks nice. Okay, done.